What I find really fascinating, and I'm absolutely jealous of, a lot of Africans have that oral tradition. A friend of mine who's from Somalia, he can recite his lines back up to 15 generations. I would absolutely die to be able to do that. And it's part of the culture to know who you are and where you come from. And that is in common with why people were putting these pedigrees or these lists of their ancestors together, because originally it was so they could bear a coat of arms and they had to prove who they were, or they were inheriting an estate. So they had to prove that they were son of whoever, who was son of whoever, who was son of whoever. And in a lot of early genealogy, women didn't even get a mention. It's either just put wife, daughter, no names, but it was all about tracing where you came from and who your ancestors were.
Why Christianity is so important in the beginnings of genealogy. Where did it start? How did this become a thing? Because you said it started like 110 years ago. Because even in the Arab world, people call themselves like Abu Yusuf or father of this person or son of this person. Like, it's always been a thing. But when did this whole turning it into an organization and into some sort of a structural institution, where did that come from?
That's a good question. And I think people have always done genealogy in whatever way, whether they've written it down or it's been an oral tradition. If you look at the Iliad or the Odyssey or these really ancient poems, they will say, I think Hector, son of Priam, I think it's Hector and Priam, but, you know, so that's always happened. I think putting together a society of people who were genealogists was a relatively recent thing in terms of the Society of Genealogists. And there are many different types of societies across the world where people have come together to do this. I mean, if you look back in the Bible, if you think about, you can see beautiful stained windows of the tree of Jesse, and that is the whole sort of genealogy of Jesus. And so this is something that's been happening as long as there's been a father and a son, because obviously the women didn't come along till quite a lot later. So people have always been interested in where they're from and who they are. And obviously we look at royal lines, we look at kings and queens. It's been very important in that carving up a power, in a sense of who do you give what to. And in terms of estates, I mean, there's been all sorts of rules about the first son gets this amount, the second son gets this, the last son goes off to war because there's nothing left for him. So that we've always had this sense of sort of hierarchy and family history, in a sense of knowing who we are. And this is the whole thing about heraldry as well. If we look at coats of arms, and part of what I'm studying for my master's is also heraldry, which is really exciting because I've always wanted to dabble in that. So I've got a good excuse now.
Wait, heraldry, is that what in Game of Thrones when they're saying House of Stark?
Yeah, it's the coat
Lannister.
of arms. Yeah, it shows you which, originally I think it was for battle, so that the knights could see which side you were on. Families are entitled to a coat of arms, but they have to prove that they're entitled to it through genealogy.